Welcome, smokers, chokers, and midnight tokers, to episode 420 of an Unearthly podcast, streaming live on the 14th of September 2021 and featuring Torchwood Out of Time, written by Catherine Trigana and starring John Barrowman as Captain Jack Harkness, Eve Miles as Gwen Cooper, Bern Gorman as Owen Harper, Naoko Mori as Toshiko Sato, and Gareth David-Lloyd as Yanto Jones. I am Bill Sylvia, the writer in black, and I am tired of this August weather in this September month. With me are Randy Ronson McCulloch.
You know, it's just amazing for our 420th episode. We picked one with so much smoking in it.
Thomas Fireheart.
I gotta love that tonal whiplash from Sarah Jane to Torchwood.
Despite having the same episode director. And Mad Matt Winchell.
Nobody calls me Maurice.
Nobody was.
Yeah, I said nobody calls me Maurice.
It was a response to my opening line.
Yes.
But yes, Alice Troughton directed The Eternity Trap and The Mad Woman in the Attic of the Sarah Jane Adventures, and by coincidence also directed Torchwood Out of Time, tonight's episode, despite the fact that she's only I keep saying reviewed for some reason. She only directed 10 episodes of all three Doctor Who shows combined, so we just happened to be doing 3 of them in a row.
Just one of those amazing cosmic coincidences.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wobbly wobbly.
So, how's everybody's week been?
Oh, not too bad. I might finally be friggin' moving into the
Finally.
back in the next.
Weren't you supposed to move it like 2 months ago?
I mean, probably more than that, but yeah, it's like we got held up because God, I forget if I talked my dad into it or like I just brought it up as a possibility in my.
Did we just lose Thomas?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we just lost you briefly there, Thomas.
Oh, okay.
Glad it wasn't me.
Must have just been that my internet went a bit wonky. Because for some reason, now I remember why I did that. But yeah, my internet went a bit wonky because it went onto Twitch for a second.
Well, you are broadcasting to us all the way from Australia, so the signal needs to turn upside down before it gets to us.
Well, it's more so because the modem we've got at the moment is shittier than the one I was able to use like a couple of months ago or so. Yeah.
Rubber mallet time? Sounds like rubber mallet time to me. Work.
And if not, then you upgrade to ball peen hammer.
But yeah, generally we were going to try cleaning the paint that from like ages ago when we'd done all that painting over there off the vinyl flooring that's over at the flat. Then we realized that the only like some stuff just wouldn't work because the paint had been there too long, and it's vinyl flooring, so scraping it off would just ruin the flooring most likely. And this other stuff that was probably strong enough to lift it up was like basically eating through the vinyl a bit. So
probably would then continue to eat through the house.
So it was a matter of like, or at least not so much eat through it, but like, where it end up being little like burn marks. Well, then that's that out of the question. I'd rather not ruin the damn vinyl trying to clean this off. So ultimately, because it had never been changed before, we're finally getting that changed, and Dad got someone in to measure it up so we could get a quote from them. And I think there was another place that probably came in today to do the same thing, just so we can compare which will potentially be cheaper, even though I'm basically just gonna tell my dad, it's like, just go with the one that can do it like within a fortnight, please. Because
Bloody hell,
I'm
but
helping,
now, come on, go.
yeah, like I'm helping to pay for this, so because like I told my dad, it's like, so long as I'm financially capable, like I will help pay for it if I have to. I'll just have to make sure I don't spend too much over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, like when that's done, because that's pretty much it. That's all that really needs doing. And then the curtains and that have to be all hung up again and whatever. But beyond that, and me just moving my stuff across, that'll basically be it.
And you'll finally be done with. When did you start this? Like a year and a half ago?
Something like that.
Not a. I mean, God knows it feels like that, but it was like closer to the start of the year. I think it was like.
I hate to tell you this, but the start of the year was about 9 months ago.
I was gonna say,
well, yeah, like it's been a while, but
I've lived here 12 and a half months now, and most of that time you've been moving.
Yeah, because like again, the problem is like we get to a point where it was like, okay, that should be it, and then we found something else. It was like we just keep running into things, and like a lot of the problem in some points was I'd take time off, and I'd take like the whole, like I'd take like essentially like, so I had like 5 days straight off, so I could do stuff in over there, but my dad only gets like 3 days off a week. So I'd have to either do it so it lines up with his days off or whatever. And just generally my sleeping habits are shot, so there'd be days where I'd be waking up at midday or just generally in the afternoon, so nothing would get done, or like fuck all would get done by compared to what we could have if I'd actually woken up like at a decent time, or just generally way earlier.
All right. So, Matt,
but yeah.
How are you recovering from the COVID?
Well, I actually had to walk into work today. Today was not a pre-planned day for me to work.
They called you in?
They called me in. They needed an extra body in to help run register because there's a couple of things going on. In particular, we're getting a new hire. And we also got someone who wanted to switch from different stores, so they were on today as well in the last hour or two of my shift.
Please tell me at some point during your day you managed to mutter, "I'm not even supposed to be here today."
I got to mutter it at least twice while people were asking how I'm doing. I'm like, I'm doing fine, even though I'm not supposed to be here today.
Did you manage to say $15, little man, put that shit in my hand?
I'm pretty sure if I said that from my manager, there might be some questions.
Or a firing.
But other than that, actually, the walk went relatively fine, except for there's one big piss-off hill between me and that building, and by the time I got to the top, I'm like, wow, my pace has stopped. And I believe I'm breathing heavy. I think I need to stand here for a moment in the shade and just take a quick breather. Yeah, that sounds good.
Well, at least it wasn't, fuck all hot today.
Yeah, it just so happened that when I went outside, it immediately became overcast and cloudy, and a majority of my walk there, the wind was actually blowing towards me, so I had a nice cool breeze the entire time.
Nice.
So yeah,
That's
and you made it, and you're still alive.
I made it. I'm still alive, and I did it in under 10 minutes, despite the 1 minute break.
Well,
I could have gotten there in 8.
Keep that up, and you'll probably be recovering pretty quickly.
Hopefully,
So-
crossing fingers. And maybe also the
So-
shooting pain in my heel could go away. And I also did something else yesterday after I was done at work yesterday, but we'll be talking about that later.
Okay.
I think something Rand said there is a good segue into how my week has been going.
I was
And that
about
is-
to ask.
So the beginning of the month, I got used to, people are saying it's still summer, but holy shit, September weather's already here. It's been 65, 70, really nice. I was enjoying going outside, walking to campus without any real problem. Come yesterday and today, between 85 and 90 degrees, high humidity, I was no longer prepared for that. So it felt like 95 just after acclimating to the 70. So all of my productivity went pretty much out the window other than the meetings I attended.
Bill,
Yeah.
you do realize that the few days before that was basically leftover hurricane weather, right?
The hurricanes actually went, it seemed they went, at least it seemed east enough to not really hit here. Like, we expected rain from the hurricane, but I don't think it ever really hit us.
No, but you still get the depression, which usually cools things down.
Right. I didn't realize it was still left over from that, but you do have a good point there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we got some freak storms over here all of a sudden too, a
Yeah.
couple times because of the leftover
We
stuff.
got some nasty weather, but I don't think that was hurricane related. That was coming from the wrong direction.
Yeah, I remember on my birthday they were expecting leftover hurricane rains to hit that night, and we were like, oh, maybe we'll have to go inside because we scheduled a dinner at a restaurant and whatever, and we ended up eating it out under the open sky, nice weather the whole time, and it never rained. So I mean, I'm used to the forecast being wrong in Ohio. That's pretty much, if the forecast says it's going to rain, it's probably going to be sunny. But yeah, we were a little surprised we didn't seem to get any direct hurricane leftover rain or anything like that.
Let me revise what I said to Matt real quick. That rain might have been exasperated by the depression, but it itself seemed to come from Canada.
Makes sense.
Oh, well, yeah, usually weather like that is when two fronts meet, so it's likely that a little bit of that storm and then the temperatures from Canada help push it.
Yeah, by the way, that interrupted my sleep a couple days ago. I'm trying to sleep at night, and all night it's boom, bam, rattle. And then I get up, I'm tired as hell. I go in the kitchen to make my lunch. They start testing the fire alarm.
For fuck's sake.
No.
At least my lunch was decent, because over the weekend I made enchilada casserole for the first time. And it came out pretty good. I took a recipe I found online, modified it a little bit. I used Mexican cheese, not cheddar, that kind of thing. And I've got about a dozen ways I can improve on it next time I make it.
Nice.
Some suggestions from my mother, who I messaged yesterday. And Erin, I don't think I brought this up a couple weeks ago, came home with a food processor. And she bought this so she could make smoothies. So I'm talking to some friends on Sunday. She comes in, it's like, do you want a smoothie? I made some, and there's a whole bunch more. And I'm like, well, sure. And she comes in with this fruit smoothie. I'm not a smoothie person. I'm not one of these people that goes to stores and orders smoothies. But I savored this. This was like, berry. I taste banana. And then I'm talking to people last night. She comes in. I hear it go off. It's like, oh, she's making another smoothie. No. She was making milkshake.
Ooh.
She came in and offered me a glass of chocolate shake. Now,
a WTH Randy from the chat. I think you're making people hungry.
I mention this because I am a chocolate shake person. I live in Wisconsin. We're ice cream people around here.
Mm-hmm.
This was the best chocolate shake I've probably had in 30 years. It is. We used to go to this little ice cream shop in Mount Horeb, my mother and I, called Goebels, and we would order chocolate shakes because they were so good. This tasted like that. I haven't had that taste since that place went out of business. So I'm just like, oh my god. So after I hung up from everybody last night, this morning before Aaron went to work, I'm like, hun, if you ever make a shake again, I don't care what it is. If you have extra and you want to give me some, the answer is always going to be yes. Other than that, I've had a pretty uneventful week. Well, I've had an uneventful week. My friend Barry has not.
Yeah, we should mention Barry really quick, probably.
Yep, those of you that know us from our live streams, Barry's a friend of ours. I've known him since the 90s. These guys have known him for a decade. Matt and Aaron, I mean.
Mhm.
Aaron probably longer because he lives in the same building we do. He was feeling sick the other day, and we urged him to go to the hospital. And it turns out we thought he had COVID. It wasn't COVID he had; it's cancer.
Ooh.
Yeah. They had to operate on him, and they removed half his large intestine and his appendix.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's pretty big, and that's pretty frightening. He is currently, he's recovered enough that they've sent him home, but home for him now means with his parents in Chicago,
Yeah.
because
Ooh.
it's going to take him a while to recover.
Mm-hmm.
They had to make sure that he was pooping okay before they'd let him out of the hospital, because of course a big operation like that, they got to make sure everything's all hooked up again properly.
Right.
Hmm.
And we just wish him well and hope and wish him a speedy recovery.
Hmm.
But so
Yeah.
those of you that are used to Aaron, Matt, myself, and Barry on live streams, that's probably going to be a while.
Yeah, that's probably going to be on hiatus, at least for Barry's end.
Pretty
For a bit.
much, we don't know when. That's going to be until further notice.
Basically.
Hopefully for his sake, even while he's recovering, he can enjoy things like games and streams. But his change in situation might also make that difficult.
At the moment, he's just focusing on getting better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, right now he just needs to focus on rest.
He's in a lot of pain.
Yeah, that'll have an effect for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all we can hope.
Mhm.
Anyway, let's move on to our actual podcast instead of just our opening banter. So on tonight's show, thank you, Train. We have birthdays, news. Matt has a little bit of geek talk. Before we get to our episode summary, our review, our final thoughts, and our ratings. So let's start with birthdays, shall we? As
All
always.
right.
We only really have one day of birthdays. It's just that 3 of them dropped on that one day. So we will go back in time here to September 9th. The first birthday on that list is Julia Swalha, who played Emma back in The Curse of Fatal Death, the comedy special back in 1999.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
She
That was the
technically
companion, I'm guessing.
Yes, she was the companion, which puts her on this list. She turned 53, which means she was what?
It would have been 22
31?
years ago.
22 years ago. She'd been 31 when she did that bit.
Yeah, that fits.
Rough age of companions, thereabouts.
Also on the same day, oddly enough, is Hugh Grant, who played the 12th Doctor in that same special. He turned 61. which means he was about 40? No. 30-something, which is about right for a doctor. And finally, the more important birthday on the list is the birthday of Janet Fielding, who played Tegan Jovanka from 81 to 84. She turned 68.
He was in more than one episode.
Well, a lot more than one episode.
Oh, yeah. She started with Tom Baker and ended just before Peter Davison quit, so...
Mm-hmm. Like the same season.
Yep.
Wolf and Forest also adds...
and then she went on to be the talent agent for Paul McGann, so...
Yeah. Wolf and Forest adds in, and my birthday, Sammy from the Cyberpunk Generation podcast featuring Ronson.
Yeah, that's what I do on Fridays. No lost stories this week, so we don't have any of that.
Yay.
We do have a rather interesting and slightly frightening piece of Doctor Who news. And that is actress Tanya Fear went missing for around 4 days in Los Angeles. If that name doesn't sound familiar to you, Tanya Fear was in the episode Arachnids in the UK, playing the spider doctor that noticed everything was wrong. I think it was one of Vaz's friends, or Yaz's friends. Blech. Words! Trying to say them. English! Okay. So, she went missing on the 9th and was found yesterday. Apparently safe, but she is currently in the hospital undergoing a thus far unstated investigation. So,
and they don't say under what circumstances they found her, so it's really hard to tell. Other than obviously it wasn't expected by the family, but other than that, we really don't know what the situation was there.
Yes. It's we'll probably find out more later when it's released, if it's released.
Mm-hmm.
But all we know is that the actress has been doing work in LA. She's also been doing stand-up. So apparently she was on her way home when she vanished.
We're lucky she was just invited to a really rockin' party and she's on an IV for a huge hangover, but I doubt that's the case.
Yeah, kind of doubtful, but we'll have to wait and see.
Had a nervous breakdown, went on a 3-day bender, possible.
Also very
Not
much
probable.
possible.
All right. So the only other piece of news we have, because once again, the production house at Doctor Who is being very, very quiet.
Already, or it's almost fall 2021.
And that's when they said the new series was supposed to be out, so we're kind of waiting with bated breath for them to give us the countdown. But the only other news we have is from Big Finish. They had 2 new releases this week. Fifth Doctor Adventure, The Lost Resort and Other Stories, with Peter Davison, Sarah Sutton, Janet Fielding, and George Watkins. And also Torchwood, Curious by James Goss with Murray Melvin. That's the weird guy at the end of the first series. We'll probably be talking about him in later episodes.
Mm-hmm. Also saw that apparently they've confirmed that Christopher Eccleston is doing at least another 12 audios.
Yeah, he's up for another season.
Excellent.
So it's good to know he's at least enjoying his time there. Otherwise, I doubt he would have.
Yeah, otherwise I highly doubt he'd sign up
Big
again.
Finish. They invite you over, have a nice spread, convince you to do some audios, and you stay for the nostalgia factor. Or for the bacon sandwiches. I'm not sure which. I'm pretty sure that's why Tom Baker stayed there, was the bacon sandwich.
On a related note, I saw in some comments of an article about it, people arguing, saying it would be nice for him to do some episodes with Billy Piper, but others saying, well, that's not going to happen because he said he likes that season as it is, and Big Finish isn't going to trick him. They're not going to trick him into doing them, but they do seem to have a silver tongue, and it wouldn't shock me if one of these days he turns around and says, yeah, let's do those stories, those travels that Rose and the Doctor and Jack went on prior to Boomtown. It could
Yeah,
happen.
it could happen. I mean, it's just they first of all let Eccleston get comfortable with what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Although it does seem they're not entirely comfortable with Barrowman at the moment.
What's
And
that?
actually, Eccleston is not a fan of Barrowman either. So they probably wouldn't have them work together.
Really?
Unless they could figure it out, hash it out. I mean, Nick Briggs is the guy in charge of this, and he's been really good at convincing people to do stuff.
Oh, yeah. Heck, he managed to talk everyone from the Fourth Doctor era into coming back.
Yeah, he managed to talk Janet Fielding into coming back, and she swore she'd never work in Doctor Who again.
Yeah. And not everybody left the Fourth Doctor era on good terms either. So the fact that they're all back together again is like, okay,
yeah. He got Tom Baker and Matthew Watson to talk to each other, and that was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
If push comes to shove,
Tom Baker even apologized for any misgivings too. So
if push comes to shove, they'll make the audio with the three of them. Only they'll have John Barrowman record his stuff in a different area.
Mm-hmm.
True.
On a related note, apparently during the filming of Zagreus, Louise Jameson and Lalla Ward never met.
Yeah,
Wow.
they can do that. They can do that.
It's a sound studio. Yeah, you don't need everyone there. You just need to know what the other lines were, so you can act off of them.
Mm-hmm. Somebody dumb reads you, and you just react and respond to that.
And this is the Big Finish house, so sometimes that someone is in a Dalek voice because that's just the voice he's using at the moment.
Damn it, Briggs. Anyway, we'll see it happen. Moving on, that is all of our news. So we will move on to our Geek Talk segment where Matt has been playing video games again. Probably trying to make up for lost time.
A little bit. I'm still going to be doing a playthrough of this, but I will say that off stream I have now finally finished Record of Lost War, Deal-It in Wonder Labyrinth. This is a Metroidvania style game, the first for Record of Lost War. Most of them were action RPGs similar to either Zelda or Diablo, including the MMO game was more of a Diablo-esque online game. I will say the music was pretty good. It really does set moods for different levels. The bosses were really interesting. There's a little bit of similar art, but never a very samey battle. There's always a different battle, even despite having, I think 3 dragons in the game. And basically the premise is that this is apparently Deedlit is in some sort of weird nightmarish world where not everything is quite right, and there seems to be a lot of hints being dropped that past events have already happened, and she's not quite sure what's going on, but she's constantly chasing after a visual image of Parn who keeps showing up every once in a while. What turns out to be, at least according to what people have said about the ending, is that it's a lead up to the book that released in 2019, the first sequel book in the franchise in 20 years.
Nice.
So yeah, it's actually a big tie-in for the book to help move things from where they ended in the last book to the current one.
Nice. Yeah, I had no idea he was continuing that series. I know most modern anime fans would be like, Lodos? What's Lodos?
And we cringe.
Oh yeah, I've been talking to people that have never seen Evangelion, and I'm just like, what? But because these anime came out when we were younger, they're not in the popular domain anymore, so people are like, what is this?
Even the anime that I've watched that you and I have talked about, and I'm quite a bit younger than you, none of the people in my grad program, they're all the people that have seen 10 times, 100 times as many anime as me, have not watched any of the anime that we have talked about because they're from the 90s and 80s and early 2000s.
I should also note that the game had a final release in March, very late March. And altogether with the streamed playthrough, which has only been 2 hours, I think I completed the game in roughly 10 hours.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's not an overly long Metroidvania. There's a lot less collecting, and the map is not that huge. But it does well enough with the mechanics that it keeps it interesting. So, yeah, I would get more into it, but it's very it's stuff that gets answered pretty quickly early on in the game, and there are in particular a switching mechanic between two different guardian spirits that they use for almost every other boss. Essentially, they're what they do is they depending upon your setup is that they'll either heal you or they'll also protect you from certain attacks, like elemental based attacks, essentially, and that's even with regular creatures.
All right. By the way, speaking of Metroidvanias, Metroid Dread comes out next month, and I've already pre-ordered it, so you can expect a review from me about that next month sometime. All right. Was there anything more, Matt?
No, just having fun with it, and I will continue to finish streaming my current playthrough.
Wow, we're already up to the episode, and we're only a half hour in. Nice.
It's gonna be a fast night.
Yep. All right. Let's go to the summary, and I believe you're up tonight, Bill.
I am up, and I'm not scripted, so I think I can get it under 5 minutes without a problem.
5 minutes without a script. You got that stopwatch ready, Matt?
Yes. Whenever you are, Bill.
I'm ready.
5 minute challenge. Here you go.
All right. 3, 2, 1, begin.
A plane lands in front of the Torchwood crew, and the passengers and pilot get out. They seem not to suspect anything unusual, but Jack presses them to tell them the year that they took off from, which happened to be 1953. They all came through the Cardiff Rift and left their loved ones in the past. The Torchwood crew look up the plane named the Sky Gypsy and find that it was presumed lost at sea, and all of most of their family members have died without knowing what happened to them. The people are John Ellis, who is kind of a middle-aged, maybe late middle-aged businessman who left a son and wife behind. Emma, who's an 18-year-old girl who's looking forward to, she's from a conservative upbringing and looking forward to meeting her future husband. And Diane, who is much more of a free spirit who is not really interested in settling down in the same way. Emma goes to join Emma and John go to stay at looked like a hostel, something of that nature, while Diane kind of ends up staying with Owen and starting a sort of relationship there. John goes to look for traces of his family, finds his son, who is affected by Alzheimer's and is not able to recognize him. And Emma has a conflict with John and ends up staying with Gwen. I kind of forgot what Emma was doing. Also, one thing I missed is that they start to get some allowance from Torchwood to learn a bit more about 21st century, how prices have changed, how technology has changed, etc.
How currency has changed.
Yep. So Alan, after learning about his son and his family, decides to kill himself. At first, Jack tries to stop him, but after coming to the realization that Alan is just going to keep trying every time his back is turned, he instead sits with him so that he's not alone when he dies. Diane and Owen realize that they've fallen in love with each other, but Diane is really not interested in being tied down by love and would rather take off in her plane, see where the rift brings her, possibly to a Big Finish contract at some point in the future. Emma manages to find a job at a company that is selling 50s-inspired clothing and moves to London to become a salesperson. And the Torchwood crew are left thinking about them and going on with their lives. The end.
All right. That was in 3 minutes, and I was slightly late on stopping, so 3 minutes and 16 seconds.
Not bad considering I kind of had a
You
brain
locked
freeze
up for a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was like, Emma did what now?
you kind of bumbled your way through that, but still managed.
Emma was kind of passive in her own plot, so I couldn't really
Yeah.
think of what she was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very character driven. So
I did forget one important for the season part that wasn't really important to the episode, which was Reese realizes that Gwen is lying to him about who Emma is, and he gets pissed off. And
And
really a
yeah, he
one-sentence
starts
thing.
kind of questioning what Gwen's always doing.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's more of the Torchwood versus Reese plot.
Yep.
yeah.
Which
Our-
might come to a head in one of the episodes we're reviewing soon. I don't remember.
I think we've.
No, we have not reviewed it yet.
Technically covered that. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
No,
it'll probably be soon.
We've covered the
it should be
aftermath
sometime
anyway.
soon. We have not covered it yet. I do
All
not
right.
recall watching it anytime recently.
So, next we're going to talk about what we liked about the episode. And Matt, you are first.
I'm first. What I liked about the episode. I'm glad there wasn't too many punches pulled when it comes to introducing these people from the 1950s to what things are like right now. There are definitely some attitudes that don't quite mesh well, and some people were getting over it and adapting, and others, sadly, they just can't find themselves able to adapt because they've also lost not only have things changed too much for them, but also with the addition of lost family, etc., they just can't carry on anymore. So, yeah, just the fact that this is actually a really good episode of Torchwood where it's more of the themes that are actually what you want a air quotes adult show to be doing, and they don't pull back on it too hard.
All right. Thomas.
I guess jumping off that, I just generally liked how, it's funny because I feel in the main show of Doctor Who, they usually either skim over or play for comedy for the most part. The whole, fish out of water by virtue of being in modern times thing, and they do play it for humor a bit here, but I like the fact that it ultimately ends with none of them able to really feel like they belong. Like one does.
Yeah,
out of the
only one
three,
finds their way, and the other two
but
either want
yeah,
to immediately suddenly, for various reasons, leave and go
yeah.
find their way somewhere else, or just want to literally stop it.
Yeah, it's it feels a lot more, I guess, realistic. That they wouldn't adapt so easily, and in some cases it just is a bit much. It's also a thing of this is Torchwood handling this in a very adult way, and for the most part it works, rather than trying to, when Torchwood is at its worst, when it's trying to be all grimdark and shit or just edgy.
Yeah, Torchwood has three faces when it tries to do something. Either it's going to be the air quotes adult, actual adult,
Yeah.
or a little too grimdark and it just goes overboard.
Yeah.
All right. Bill?
So I like how even though there's only really 3 important supporting characters, not counting the other 2 girls from the hostel or whatever, or the person in charge of airplane rentals, but those 3 main characters, the 3 time travelers, are really as diverse as can be possible. Well, I mean, they're all they're all white middle class people, but their personalities are completely distinct. They have they're completely different reactions to everything, completely different desires. It's a perfect blend of just people with they're not samey at all, despite all coming from the same origin and only being a few of them. So I think they did a really good job distinguishing Diane, Emma, and Ellen from one another.
All right. I would like to also branch off of Matt's thing. The writing, I love the fact that they wrote them with the 3 different outcomes. You've got your sad ending, your bittersweet ending, your happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like, here are 3 test cases. I mean, I could almost see this as a Twilight Zone episode.
Almost, yeah.
Here are 3 separate cases.
Let me paint you a picture, if you will.
Yeah. And so you've got the one guy who can't cut it, so he offs himself. You've got the one who also can't cut it and just tries to get back home. And then you've got the one who does adapt. And I like the fact that they tell each story. And you honestly can't tell which one's going to be which at the beginning.
Oh, for sure. Because at certain times, like, especially the stuff that, like, Gwen and Emma talk about, Diane, like, they kind of implied Diane would fit more with social views of the 21st century a lot better than Emma would. But Diane struggles in other ways, and Emma ends up adapting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which I guess ultimately, of all the 3, if any of them were going to adapt, it probably would be the youngest of them. The others have already lived a bit more, so it's harder for them to.
They're a bit more set in their ways,
arguably.
or trying to be set in their
Yeah.
ways by this point, and everything's just been flipped.
All right, so what didn't we like about this episode? Matt, you are first.
Oh boy.
Yeah, if you can't find anything, say pass.
Thinking really quick. Anything I didn't like about this in general? The only nitpick is maybe that for a show named Torchwood, not all the members are really there for most of it. But that's only like a very minor nitpick.
Okay.
The fact that the 3 original characters take up all of our time is actually a good thing because they're the main focus of this particular story. It just so happens.
And it mostly focuses on Gwen, Jack, and Owen.
Basically, yeah.
And Yanto is a really great scene.
Has one scene, and then
there's
we
a couple
see
of really
Toshiko
quick scenes.
there in a couple of scenes, but that's
Yeah.
about it.
Toshiko is probably the only one I think that really gets
She got really removed. She had I think she's only there for like 2 sequences.
Or 2 scenes, yeah.
Yeah. She's pretty much there to fill generic Torchwood role, say a few scripted lines that have nothing to do with her character, and that's about it.
She basically was the Yohura in this.
Yeah.
If you go back to the original series, she was basically there to say, "I'll do some research and I found something."
Right.
Which is basically the equivalent of saying, "Hailing frequencies open, Captain."
Right.
Okay, I can see that. Thomas.
Owen.
Actually, Owen didn't bother me as much.
I mean, he bothered me more in the grand scheme, remembering everything that's going on. I mean, even the friggin' the sort of next time on Torchwood thing has like Gwen confessing that she's been banging Owen. And it's like, oh yeah, that's a thing that was going on at the time, and now you're trying to convince me that he's
Owen is as a person, more than anything else.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so you're trying to convince me that the guy that has forced himself onto Gwen before, and just generally is helping her cheat on her partner, is falling in love with this random woman that he just met, like. No.
Not to mention,
I don't
the
buy
fact,
it, and also I don't buy it.
And I'm slightly pissed at you because this was mine. Is the fact that you've got to remember that Owen has been portrayed from the beginning as this bitter, cynical asshole.
Yeah, complete and total annoying little a-hole if he's not being a slime ball.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like the episode where everything seems to change for him, and then we're supposed to immediately take it. It's like, that's a bit of a rough pill.
I mean, he does kind of say like this is out of character for him. It scares him. It's new to him. So like they're acknowledging
They
that.
are acknowledging it, but it still is something that needs to take a little while. And I'm glad that at least the next episode, even though we're really annoyed with the whole Gwen and Owen thing, they're at least doing something about it to try and wrap it up.
I don't think he learns from this episode. I don't think it changes his character in any meaningful way.
Yeah, and that's also partially my problem too. Is this kind of hits him out of the blue and it doesn't change him, and there's no real way. It just is like, oh, I'm in love.
Yeah.
No, fuck you, Owen. Sit back down and fetch me another beer.
I mean, there's a few things where it feels like they try to move his character forward and then just nothing happens ultimately. Like I forget what the episode is, but that thing where he like has to kind of live through the experience, like witness like this sort of vision or whatever of this thing that happened in the past where some woman got raped, and
oh yeah,
like you would think that would fuck him up, but ultimately after that episode I don't think it ever comes up again. So.
Yeah, I honestly don't think his character is capable of love, so him actually doing this, oh my god, I'm in love, just no.
Yeah.
Wolf and Forrest does say in the chat, love at first sight is a thing that has happened before IRL.
I mean, there was definitely the whole. I think the writers were definitely going for the person who is not a relationship person and always wants just casual sex ends up being the person on the wrong side of that and wants something more and is told deuces. I think that was definitely what they were going for, and there was intention there, but it does struggle with the rest of Owen's character throughout the season.
Yes, it does.
I would almost argue that like Tosh probably would have been better for that.
Tosh isn't an asshole like she.
Well, like true, but like her, I mean, we've seen that she has been with women before, so doing something where they hook up,
right?
Especially because of the difference of like what her opinion might have been on someone of Tosh's ethnicity, given the time she's from,
right? But if
there's
you want
more interesting shit there than with Owen.
If you want to do the whole like casual sex person gets their heart broken, it's pretty much got to be Owen or Jack. And they're not going to do that with Jack because he's Jack, and they don't want to do that to him. But
and it's also kind of hard for Jack to get his heart broken in casual sex because Jack.
Yeah, Jack is the kind of person who wouldn't let that even affect him, and he'll just go look out for the next bit of fun.
All right. So are we up to Bill now?
I think we are, and mine is. It does include Owen, and that is just that there are several sex scenes throughout this episode. They all look god awful, and I'm not like, they need to make me horny or something like that. That's not what I'm saying by any means. They look so bad that the first time I watched this episode, I didn't realize it was supposed to be sex. Like, it's just, they're the worst, most unappealing of all the sex scenes I've seen in my life. They're just like, I do not get what they were going for. Tommy Wiseau did better sex scenes than this episode.
Yeah, I was there. That was
I
going
don't
to go
know.
into my that was going to go into my least favorite scene. In fact, it still might.
I don't know, Bill. I'm pretty sure Tommy Wiseau doesn't know where things are supposed to go. Apparently, he thinks some things are supposed to go in the belly button.
I think if you put Tommy Wiseau's belly button sex on one screen and the sex scenes from this episode on another screen, the Tommy Wiseau one would be better.
Wow.
I'm not so sure about that.
Okay. So Since Thomas took mine, I'm going to pass on what I disliked about the episode because I've already talked about it. And we're going to go to favorite scene. So, Matt, you are first.
All right. I just so happened to have caught a picture of my favorite scene. So the I like the little bit of tongue-in-cheek bit where they first go into that store, but the best part of that particular sequence is right towards the very end as they're checking out. The pilot pulls out a package of cigarettes and goes, "What's this?"
I was
And it
trying
says
to
"Smoking
find a
kills."
photo. I was trying to find a photo of that for the title card, and I couldn't find
Oh,
one.
I found it quickly. It's at the top of my search.
Yeah, well, pop it into podcast chat, Matt.
Oh, okay.
Are you still using DuckDuckGo, or?
Yep.
So that's probably I used Google, so maybe they had different
Shade.
results.
Yeah, they definitely have different results almost all the time, given what I've been seeing. So
maybe
podcast.
I'll start branching out in my image searches.
Just her pulling up this and going, "What's this about?" And there's just a brief moment of pause. It's like, "Oh yeah, they didn't know about that back then."
Mm-hmm. And the look on Yanto's face is just like, okay.
I forget if the tobacco companies knew about it, but they weren't required to put it on the labels.
I
Yeah.
know
Back then.
they were probably aware of it for sure by the 60s, if not the early 70s, and they fought against it by the late 70s.
They fought hard, yeah.
And if I remember correctly, if you look at a label on a package of cigarettes here in the U.S., it is not that blunt.
It's not that blunt, but it's still there.
But it's like the biggest language you see is Surgeon General's warning, and then a bunch of fine print underneath
Smoking can cause yada 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 yada. Yeah, smoke at your own risk. But they put it in such tiny text.
Yep.
Meanwhile, giant blunt smoking kills is kind of amusing.
Yes.
It's not a giant blunt, they're cigarettes.
Oh, go get lit, Bill.
Okay. All right. Thomas, your favorite scene?
Given its family stuff, I thought it would have hit me a lot harder. But even then, I still just like it as a scene. It's when the oh god, I've forgotten his name.
Son?
But when the guy comes through and
Alan?
who came through sees his son.
And he doesn't recognize or anything.
Yeah.
Like the briefest of moments, he remembers some of the stuff that happened when he was a child, and then it just all slowly folds away again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he doesn't recognize anything. I mean, you can tell how devastating it is when he just looks at him and goes, "Who are you?"
Yeah, just after he asked his...
I was mixing up names. The old son is Alan. John is the actual name of the guy that came through. I was calling him Alan the whole time.
Bad Bill. No biscuit. All right. So yeah, that's really just part of the absolute depressing clincher there is when you just watch that just fall away. And you're just like, oh. And you just watch him be destroyed.
Yeah.
What was really interesting about that scene, and I kind of forgot about it and had the same expectation the second time. You really think, like, especially at certain moments when he remembers the baseball game. I think it was a baseball game or whatever sport game it was. You really think, oh, he's going to recognize his father now. And then the next thing he says to him is, "Who are you?"
And it just absolutely just is just shattering. That's pretty much where the guy's just like, okay, I've got nothing. I'm going to go kill myself now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and then in the same scene, he finds out he doesn't have any grandkids.
Same sequence of
That's
scenes,
literally all of his family, everything that's left right there. Yeah, that's
and it's not even moving anymore. It's basically just his son sitting there, unable to recognize anything.
Yep. Okay, Bill.
Okay, so clearly what I was gonna say for my favorite scene was too big because Matt's is part of that scene. Because I was gonna say the whole thing at the grocery store, so I'll be more specific. And I think I am going to go with oh yes, they use high frequency radio waves to bananas. Oh yes, but bananas are far more interesting.
It's like, she's just like, okay, whatever, move on. Ooh, bananas.
Like from the comedy of the scene to just Gareth David-Lloyd's delivery is absolutely perfect.
It is. And you've got it, and they mention it too. It's like, we had just gotten off rationing.
Yep.
So you take a look at, what would have been on the shelves in the typical store in Britain from 1953 to that freaking supermarket. And you're just like, oh, wow, yeah, that is going to be a huge difference.
Right.
Because, yeah, like he said, we are a consumer society. I'm surprised they weren't at a Tesco, to be honest. Actually, I think I did see where that was actually filmed. Gotta look that up now.
Well, while you're looking that up really quick, we did have a reply to mine in the chat. Wolf and Forest says, someone from Britain, I can actually tell you that due to new laws that passed a couple years ago, now the packaging is only boring and full of the whole smoking kills, beware death crap. So it's gotten even bigger.
Oh yeah, and here in Australia there'll be like images of rotting teeth and all these effects that it can have on you and shit.
Whereas if they tried to make it any more explicit here, the cigarette companies would probably just buy a few senators and they would repeal the whole law, and it would be like cigarettes taste like candy, and that's all it would say or something.
They've been trying. The big tobacco's been trying that for years. Anyway, so it wasn't a Tesco, but it was an Asda, which is another big British supermarket chain. And they tried to hide this fact, but it's if you know an Asda, apparently it's pretty obvious by the products.
Gotcha.
Also seen in that scene, and probably my favorite part of that scene, is when you see Maltesers, Mars bars, Twix, Kit Kats, Milky Ways, Cadbury Dairy Milk, M&Ms.
Oh, yeah, where she just goes crazy in that shelf.
Yeah, she just raids that, and Ianto's just like, £12.50, you'll ruin your teeth. And she's like, you sound like my mom.
Grabs another bag.
That was my favorite scene.
And actually, that makes perfect sense. As somebody who teaches college freshmen, you're it's pretty much a high school student who's away from her mom for the first time. So filling up a bag with enough candy to give herself the world's biggest stomach ache is perfectly fitting of that demographic.
Yeah, I think at least a handful of us go through that when we were that age.
It
no rules.
Also,
go crazy.
It would also be Aaron in the same store. Let's face it. All right. So, least favorite scenes.
Oh,
Matt.
Least favorite scene. Now, I'm not against them having the sex scenes in this episode, but they did not need to linger on them as long as they did, I feel. Because it seemed like they needlessly went back to them a couple of times, at least towards the end. It could have just literally gone back to literally bed talk instead of them still going at it. It's like, okay.
I think that's because it was supposed to imply like it was emotional and sensual. The problem is they weren't those things. They were just jerking motions.
All right. Thomas?
I guess I'll just go with the I mean, there's plenty of Owen things it could go with, but I think I'm gonna go with the bit at right near the end where they show like sort of flashbacky moments through the episode of like certain characters. Like when they're showing the stuff of John, I'm like, okay, he offed himself. Jack kind of having little flashbacks of interactions they've had. That's fine. But then we do ones for the other ones, and one is just literally replaying Gwen saying goodbye to her on the bus.
Yeah.
And it's like, we literally just saw that. Why are you replaying that?
That flashback scene does kind of feel like padding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
So it's like, again, like the one with the bit with like flashbacks to John, it's like, fair enough. But the other two are like, okay, we didn't really need that.
Yeah. All right, Bill.
So I'm going to go with I get why it's there, but it's the one that I just physically disliked the most. And that is Owen's whole "what about me" bullshit, because yes, it's in character. Yes, I mean I'm a little pissed at Diane for still like letting him down gently after that, because she's probably dealt with assholes of the same type in the 50s. But I kind of wish she would have just like kicked him in the chest, let him fall, and then flew away while he was lying there, because he was just an asshole at that point.
The thing is, he's always an asshole. I still can't figure out
Yes.
why she went for him in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, it's not out of character, it's not poorly written or anything like that, but it's just he's fucking annoying, and he's just as annoying in that scene as any other episode.
All right. So, kind of pulling off of Matt's, I could have gone the entirety of my life without seeing Bern Gorman's O face. Seriously. There's an image that'll stick to the inside of your eyelids. Unfortunately. Use this scene. You will be celibate for life. Yeah, I did not need to see that. Okay. So, we've gone through our scenes. We are only an hour in. And we're at final thoughts, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not unheard of to have short episodes.
Yeah,
Let's
we have
roll.
them now and then. Matt, your final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I do generally like this episode. I do feel like this was their at least a first attempt at trying to change Owen, because obviously he wasn't meshing that well with what a lot of people wanted out of the show. At least for a main character, out of the cast of main characters. The three new characters that are quickly become the main focus of the story are actually really good characters, and as we've mentioned before, they lead to very interesting and different ends depending upon what happens in the story. And most of this is actually really well done. There's just a few little, very minor nitpicks about how they go about it by the end. At least that's my feeling on it. So, yeah. Oh, something in the chat. Let me see real quick. Oh, Wolfen Force was mentioning the car park on the roof of the building is Tredegar Street, a block over from a luxury apartment building in Cardiff.
That wouldn't surprise me, since most of their filming's done in Cardiff.
Mm-hmm.
The distinctive
And
profile,
unlike Doctor Who, is supposed to actually take place in Cardiff.
the distinctive profile of the stairways shelter can be seen. In season 1, episode 1, in the paranoia shot of Jack standing on a roof while.
Oh, his Batman shot.
Ah, right.
But it works because it's actually in the city that it's supposed to be set in, as compared to K9, where were those
everything
shots of
in
Thomas?
Australia is trying to be supplemented for Britain.
It was like Sydney or something.
Brisbane.
Brisbane, and they were like, "Oh yeah, this is London."
No, it's not. It's frickin' Brisbane. Get it right.
It's like they show the Toronto skyline and say New York City.
They do that. They've done that. This is Metropolis. No, it's fucking Toronto.
Yeah.
Or Vancouver. Get it right. Anyway.
At least they're not trying to do it at Edmonton.
Anyway,
Edmonton
Thomas,
is
you're
underground.
next for final thoughts.
Yep. You know, the Owen stuff aside, I do like this episode. I mean, it's funny for some reason. I remember there being a scene where it turns out that John was like closeted, but I must just be confusing this with a different episode.
I think so.
Because like that, yeah, it never ends up happening. I'm like, oh wait, does he? And it's like, no, because if it
Yeah,
was gonna happen at all,
you're
it
actually
probably...
thinking of the father from the Idiot's Lantern.
Ah.
I think.
I don't remember that either.
Oh no, they just threw him out. There was something. I do remember an episode where that was happening, but it was another one of these very old-fashioned.
Yeah, I feel it was Torchwood, but I forget.
No, it was Doctor Who. The father of the well-off family that had like a turkey dinner. Season 1, when Doctor Who came back. It turns out
The Empty Child.
Yeah, the Empty Child. The Doctor dances. There's a family that the poor kids have been stealing food from, and when the father comes in and is about to try and reprimand them or try to do something about them, they are then threatening him with the fact that he's gone off to the butchers in secret, and they get lots of really good food for not having a lot of money to spend on it. That's the closest thing I can think of off the top of my head.
Possibly.
I mean, also I might just be getting it confused with the Captain Jack Harkness episode, which is
maybe
that
as well.
was the Captain.
Right? Think we?
Yeah.
I mean, there's literally an episode called Captain Jack Harkness. Of Torchwood.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
But in any case, I also like that this is just purely character stuff. Like again, the Owen stuff can go away, but you know, there's no monster of the week. There's nothing like that. It's just, here are these 3 people that are, well, as the episode title says, out of time. And, you know, it's just how these people are reacting to that and how they're interacting with the Torchwood team. And it's like, it just worked. Like, again, like, there's a few, like, we're trying a bit too hard to be adult with, like, here and there bits. But ultimately, it's like, for the most part, the episode is Torchwood doing what it really should have done most of the time and tackling subject matter that Doctor Who was never going to tackle. Without it necessarily delving. Without it necessarily delving into like, ooh, look at all this sex and ooh, look at all this edgy shit.
I was gonna say, on the plus side, even RTD's Doctor Who never would have shown Owen's orgasm face.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I could have done without that as well, but it's very much.
See, for you all, it's all burned into your retinas. I'm over here like, oh, I like the story.
Yeah.
Trust me. Now that's brought it up, you ever watch this episode again, you'll never not see it. You'll be like, oh shit, there it is. Why? Why, God?
Yeah.
Why?
I'm pretty sure I've seen worse.
Yeah, generally, like, I'm pretty sure I've seen all of series 1 and 2 of Torchwood at this point, and I would honestly say this is one of the better episodes. Probably not near the best, but at least one of the better episodes of Torchwood.
All right. Bill?
I definitely agree that this is a very good episode. Some great character moments. It's kind of funny to think that the whole episode could have been canceled by a vortex manipulator or a TARDIS just showing up at any point. But that's one of the good things about shows like Sarah Jane Adventures and Torchwood is it shows the havoc that things that the Doctor just brushes off can wreak on people when the Doctor's not around. But yeah, it's definitely a great look at these different characters. Even though it's a small cast, it does not feel lacking for content in any way. It doesn't really feel like it was rushed or anything like that either. Like we said, there was that one scene that felt kind of padded, or at least like they weren't really getting. Maybe there were too many flashbacks to actually get the point across of how the Torchwood team was feeling. But in general, it was a very solid episode.
All right. Anything more?
That's it.
All right. So first of all, it's obvious that this is a filler episode.
Mm.
It really doesn't contribute to the overall storyline of this series. I think you can all agree with me on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you remove this,
You mean James Marsters isn't in it?
No, that's next series. James Marsters doesn't show up till series 2.
I thought this was series 2.
No.
No, this is still series
like
1.
the tail end of series 1.
Huh.
Yes, this is
Oh.
the. Yeah. But like,
I think I screwed up on the Twitch title then. Oh well.
Yes, you did.
I thought we had finished series 1.
No.
no. In
No.
fact, next week is series 1 too. In
Shame.
fact, so's the week after that. We have
It's
3.
It's because I have to scroll all the way past the right end of the visible page to see those 3 episodes we haven't done. So I thought it was just a solid block of brown.
Nope.
No. Shame.
No. Ask me if you don't know. No biscuit, Bill. I'm on Discord like all the time, so I can respond. But yes, it is definitely series 1. So because for one, the whole Gwen and Owen thing that they mentioned in the next episode trailer. Or let me guess, you didn't watch the next episode.
I didn't watch the next episode trailer.
Yeah.
I turned it off when the episode ended.
Well, that's your problem. Apparently ours now, too. But, no, this is definitely a Series 1 episode. But, like I said, if you took Out of Time out of the series, you would not lose anything to the overall plot.
Yeah.
It is also...
Why didn't you just say if you took Out of Time, Out of Time?
Because somebody would get confused. And if you say it again, I'll have to hurt you. Anyway,
when you're not
if you just went from random shoes straight to combat, you wouldn't lose anything. But this is also not quite a bottle episode, but pretty low on the budget level.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they were saving their money for other things. This is not bad, because they did an excellent job with what they had.
Yeah.
This episode was well written. It was well acted. And for the most part, well directed, though they lingered a little too much on the Owen sex scenes. Also, I do have to hurt the writer a little for making Owen be the one to go through this. Like we said, I just can't see it. I can't see why there would be an attraction between these two characters.
Yeah.
She's a free spirit and he's an asshole. Anyway,
I'm just sitting here going, stranger things have happened.
And it's not like I actually feel any romantic chemistry between them either.
Now it's a fling at best for at least one of them.
Yeah.
Also, Wolf and Forest, I know you want to keep going to the scores, but Wolf and Forest also commented in, After checking it out, I thought it was a good episode. Also, an episode where they didn't encounter aliens, lol.
Yeah,
Right?
this, like I said, this was filler. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
that. It was all purely a human piece. But it's an interesting concept. Like I said, one
Yeah.
I would expect from the Twilight Zone at its best. And I mean, I'm talking the Rod Serling era, not the
Mm-hmm.
more modern versions. It's very enjoyable, but could have just used a hint more editing, I think. All right.
Yep.
Let's get to the ratings on this bad boy. Let's put it to bed.
So, me first again.
Yes, you are first. You reviewed first.
I think I'm going to stick with a 4 on this one. There's a few more fixes that could have very easily tossed it to a 5, but as it stands right now, this is a really good 4, almost a 4.5 for me.
All right, Thomas.
You know, like, I feel like some of it brings it down a bit, but I feel like it only really brings it down to a 4.5 for me.
All
Not
right.
quite enough to drop it to a 4.
All right, Bill.
Part of me wants to give this a 5, but I think it's lacking that something special. I think it's a 4.5.
And I do have to agree with the majority. I do think it needs to have some knocked off, but I think it's still in that 4.5 range.
Oh, wow, I was low. Okay.
Yes. You
Not by much,
are
though.
you are our negative Nancy tonight.
We've had a new one every week this month, it seems.
And with the scores, it turns out that Bill, Thomas, and myself are right, and Matt is wrong because it does average out to a 4.38, which is actually going to be pretty freaking high on our list.
Yeah, it's still going to be high up there.
Especially for Torchwood.
Especially for Torchwood. Yeah, this is going to be...
Yeah, we've gone through most of the rough patches.
Oh, no, we haven't.
Actually, there's a few good ones in there, but it's been a lot of the rough patches.
One day we'll start Miracle Day.
And that's going to be an entire season of rough patches right there. Anyway, 4.38 on our ratings board goes 93 out of 403 things reviewed. It is on par with anything. No.
I can really see
Really?
news.
There is nothing in the 4.38. There's a couple of big finishes, but nothing on the spin-off series.
Mm-hmm. The closest I see is a 4.4.
Yeah, and that's going to be what's better than it. It is better than Sarah Jane Adventures, The Last Centauran, and Torchwood Fragments Exit Wounds, which is down at a 4.3, and not as good as Torchwood Adrift at 4.4. And that's about it.
Right. So those...
Well, I was going to say, there you have it. Once again, 93, 403 things reviewed. That is all we have to say about Torchwood Out of Time.
So those watching this on YouTube, please, or I think Twitch has comments even after we've finished now.
Mm-hmm.
But let us know in the comments what do you think about the episode? Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? And don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and ring the bell to get our exports every Monday, or follow us on Twitch to get our streams every Tuesday night.
Yeah, also feel free to message us if you think we've just been smoking this entire episode. Anyway, next week, we continue marching towards the end of the first series of Torchwood with the second to last episode we have yet to review. It's Torchwood Combat, written by Noel Clarke, oh boy, and starring John Barrowman as Captain Jack Harkness, Eve Miles as Gwen Cooper, Bern Gorman as Owen Harper, Naoko Mori as Toshiko Sato, and Gareth David-Lloyd as Ianto Jones. We will see you next week.
Good
See
night.
you then.
And that last stroke was a little bit blunt.